There's a very specific kind of film that doesn't need a villain. No monster, no killer, no ticking bomb. Just a person, completely cut off from the rest of the world. No rescue coming, no phone signal, no one who even knows exactly where they are. Just them, and whatever the world decides to throw at them next. And somehow, those films are scarier than anything with a monster in it. Today, 15 of the finest pure isolation survival films ever made. No human terror, no apocalypse, no horror. Just people, completely alone, fighting the most indifferent enemy there is, nature itself. Let's count them down. Number 15. Fall.
Let's do it. Let's climb your stupid tower. I'm so excited!
2,000 feet. That's how far up Becky and Hunter are when the ladder collapses. They climbed an abandoned TV tower in the middle of the Mojave Desert to scatter the ashes of Becky's husband, who died in a climbing accident a year ago. The climb goes fine. The descent does not. And now they're on a platform roughly the size of a dining table with no signal, no water within reach, and vultures beginning to show interest. Here's the thing about Fall. It was made for $3 million. The actors performed most of their own stunts, and the filmmakers built the upper portion of the tower on top of a real mountain, so the drop behind the actors is completely real. That's not CGI wind. That's actual wind. You feel it. The film has flaws. The script gets wobbly in places, but as a pure delivery mechanism for vertigo and dread, it does its job with complete conviction. If you have any fear of heights, any at all, you will not watch this calmly. Number 14. Adrift.
Richard!
On September 23, 1983, a young woman named Tammy Oldham was sailing the Pacific when Hurricane Raymond hit without warning. When it was over, her boat was destroyed, her partner Richard was gone, and she was alone in the middle of the ocean with a shattered mast, almost no food, and over 1,000 miles to the nearest land. She survived 41 days. Shailene Woodley plays Tammy, and what she does physically in this film is remarkable. Sunburned, hollow-eyed, running entirely on willpower and whatever fish she can catch, you believe every second of it. Director Baltasar Kormakur, the same man who made Everest, shoots the ocean as a living thing. Clear and inviting in the flashbacks of early love, black and merciless the morning after the storm. Do not Google this story before you watch it. The film has a structural twist that only works if you don't see it coming. Go in clean. Let it land. Number 13. The Gray. A group of oil workers, Alaska. Their plane goes down in the middle of nowhere. The temperature is dropping, supplies minimal, days of walking between them and any chance of rescue. And wolves, a pack of them, following at the edge of the tree line, picking off the survivors one by one. Liam Neeson plays Otway, a man whose job, even before the crash, was to shoot wolves to protect the workers. A man who was already deciding, when the plane went down, whether he wanted to keep living. What The Gray is actually about, beneath the survival mechanics and the wolf attacks, is men confronting the thing they've been outrunning. Their grief, their regret, the specific weight of a life that didn't go the way they thought it would. Every man who dies in this film has a conversation first, about something real, something unfinished, and then the cold takes them. The final scene of this film, Neeson, the last man, facing the thing that has hunted him the whole way, is one of the most powerful endings in survival cinema. I won't say what happens. I'll say it earns it completely. Number 12. Arctic. Overgaard has been surviving for a while before the film starts. We don't know exactly how long. We don't know how he got there, what his name was before the crash, or who he left behind. The film never tells us. It just shows us his routine. Mads Mikkelsen plays Overgaard, and he does it almost entirely without dialogue. A face, a body, A pair of hands doing the quiet, methodical, unglamorous work of staying alive. Not heroism, not stoicism, just endurance. One thing at a time. One day at a time. A helicopter responds to his beacon and crashes. The pilot dies. A young woman survives, badly injured. And now Overgaard has a choice. Stay with the wreckage and wait, or start moving, dragging her on a sled toward a base that might be too far to reach. He walks. In the snow. Every day. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mikkelsen said it was the hardest shoot of his career, and when you watch the film, you believe him. Number 11. Everest. This one is based on the true events of May 1996, the deadliest day in the history of Everest, when 2 expeditions were caught in a sudden storm near the summit, and 8 climbers died. Director Baltazar Kormákur shot this in the actual Himalayas. When the wind hits, it hits. When the cold comes through the screen, you reach for the blanket automatically. Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, Jake Gyllenhaal. Real people who made real decisions on that mountain. Some reasonable, some catastrophic, and paid for them in ways the film doesn't soften. What Everest does that most disaster films don't, it refuses to assign blame cleanly. The mountain didn't care about the decisions these people made. The weather didn't care how experienced they were. There's no villain. There's no mistake that explains it all. Just a group of people at 29,000 feet when conditions became unsurvivable. That refusal to simplify it is what makes it linger. Number 10. The Way Back. Peter Weir made this based on a memoir, though the historical accuracy has been debated since, about a group of men who escaped a Siberian gulag in 1940 and walked south to India. 4,000 miles on foot, through Siberia, through the Gobi Desert, across the Himalayas. They simply walked out of one of the most hostile environments on Earth and kept walking until they reached somewhere safe, because the alternative was to go back. Ed Harris, Jim Sturgis, Colin Farrell. Weir strips everything down to the act of movement. 1 foot, then the other, then the same foot again. The landscape changes over months. The group shrinks. The ones who remain keep walking. Not a famous film, not a loud film, one of the most quietly devastating endurance films ever made. The kind that makes you want to sit with it for a long time after it ends. Number 9. The Edge. Anthony Hopkins and Alec Baldwin. A plane crash in the Alaskan wilderness. A bear that won't leave them alone, and a slow, creeping suspicion between 2 men stranded together that one of them came out here hoping the other wouldn't come back. The Edge is the most underrated film on this list. David Mamet wrote it. Lee Tamahori directed it. And what it does, alongside the genuine survival mechanics, the fire starting, the bear traps, the raw ingenuity, is run a cold, psychological thriller underneath the man versus nature plot. Hopkins plays Charles. Wealthy, bookish, always reading. The kind of man other men underestimate, right up until the moment they shouldn't. His line, "What one man can do, another can do," delivered as a mantra against fear while building a spear to fight a grizzly, is one of the great survival movie speeches. A bear killed and replaced a stunt bear during filming. On the first day of principal photography, the production continued anyway. Brilliant film. Not enough people have seen it. Number 8. Into the Wild.
I'm going to Alaska.
Alaska? Or City, Alaska?
I'm gonna be all the way out there.
Yeah.
In the wild.
What are you doing when we're there? Now you're in the wild. What are you doing?
You're just living, man.
Christopher McCandless burned his money, gave his savings to charity, changed his name to Alexander Supertramp, and walked into the Alaskan wilderness alone. He was 24 years old. Sean Penn directed this with enormous care, following McCandless from Georgia to California to Alaska, capturing the freedom and the light and the particular joy of someone who genuinely believes that the world without possessions, without structure, without people, is the answer. Emil Hirsch plays McCandless, and he is luminous in it. Open, certain, entirely convincing as someone who has found what he was looking for. And then the Alaskan winter arrives, and the film asks the thing it has been quietly building toward the whole time. What is wilderness without someone to share it with? What is freedom if it becomes just isolation by another name? McCandless's final words, written in his journal, are the most heartbreaking thing in this film. Happiness is only real when shared. He was alone when he wrote them. Number 7. Gravity.
I can't see you anymore. Do it now.
Alfonso Cuarón shot this film so that you forget for long stretches that you're watching actors. Sandra Bullock, George Clooney. Mission goes wrong. Debris field. 2 astronauts tumbling in the silence of space, with dwindling oxygen and no way back that doesn't require something close to a miracle. The opening 13-minute take, no cuts, the camera drifting through debris as the disaster unfolds in real time, is one of the finest sequences in modern cinema. Cuarón said he had to invent new technology to even make it possible. But Gravity is not really a film about space. It's a film about the will to return. About a woman who had already decided, before any of this, that there was nothing left worth coming back for. And then finding out, at 600 kilometers above the Earth, that she was wrong. Won 7 Academy Awards. Bullock's performance is everything. Physical, terrified, specific in every breath. Watch it as loud as you can. In the dark. Feel the silence of space. Number 6. Cast Away. Chuck Noland is a FedEx systems analyst. He controls time, manages schedules, arrives at Christmas dinner late because the pager went off. Then his plane goes down in the Pacific, and time stops mattering, and the only schedule is the tide. Tom Hanks is alone on a beach for an hour and a half of this film. No other actors, no significant dialogue, just a man dismantling everything he was and building something else. Something raw, something that knows how to catch fish and crack coconuts in its place. Wilson, the volleyball, is not a joke. People mock Wilson, but Wilson is the film's emotional masterstroke, the way Hanks externalizes 4 years of isolation into something with a face painted in blood and makes you grieve for a volleyball with the same feeling as a real loss is one of the finest achievements of his career. Robert Zemeckis shut down production for a year to let Hanks lose 50 pounds for the second half. That commitment shows in every frame. The ending doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what's true, which is both sadder and better. Number 5. 127 Hours.
Good morning, everyone. It is 7 o'clock here in Canyonland, USA.
On April 26, 2003, Aaron Ralston went canyoneering alone in Blue John Canyon, Utah. He told no one where he was going. A boulder shifted and pinned his right arm against the canyon wall. He was there for 5 days and 7 hours. Danny Boyle made a film about a man who cannot move, who is pinned to one spot, and somehow made it one of the most kinetic, propulsive, visually inventive films of the decade. James Franco plays Ralston, and the performance is extraordinary in a way that's hard to explain, because for most of the film, he is literally stationary. His face is doing everything. The voice recorder he talks into, leaving messages for people he may never see again, is more revealing than any dialogue scene, because it's a man alone being entirely honest for the first time. The scene everyone knows is coming arrives. You know it's coming from the moment the film starts, and it is not easy to watch. But what comes after it? Ralston stumbling out into sunlight, arm gone, utterly, completely alive, is one of the most earned moments of joy in survival cinema. He was alone because he didn't tell anyone where he was going. He almost died because of it. He said afterwards that the boulder had been waiting for him his whole life. That's not melodrama. He really said that. Number 4. Life of Pi. A boy, a lifeboat, the Pacific Ocean, a Bengal tiger named Richard Parker. Ang Lee won the Oscar for directing this film. Cinematographer Claudio Miranda won for photographing it, and both awards were entirely deserved. But here's the thing about Life of Pi that gets lost in the conversation about its visual beauty. It is one of the most quietly brutal survival films ever made. Pi Patel is 17 years old. His family is gone. He has nothing but the ocean in every direction, and an adult Bengal tiger in the same small boat. The tiger is not friendly, not a pet. It is a predator that Pi must manage every day with no error margin, no rest, while also finding food and water for both of them and charting whatever course he can. And underneath the magical realism, underneath the bioluminescent ocean and the whale and the carnivorous island, there is a story about trauma and the stories we tell ourselves to survive it. The film ends with a question it deliberately refuses to answer. You'll be thinking about that question for days after the credits roll. Number 3, The Martian.
Every human being has a basic instinct to help each other out. If a hiker gets lost in the mountains, people coordinate a search.
Here's a survival film about the least likely survival premise imaginable. A NASA botanist alone on Mars after his crew evacuated and accidentally left him for dead. His resources? A small habitat, some science equipment, and roughly 4 years until another mission arrives. His food supply? Nothing that will last that long. His solution? Grow potatoes. On Mars. In Martian soil. Using his own waste as fertilizer. Matt Damon plays him with a specific quality. Not invincible, not broken. Just competent and funny and determined in a way that is fundamentally, deeply, cheerfully human. Ridley Scott directed. Drew Goddard adapted Andy Weir's novel. And the film's masterstroke is making every problem-solving sequence as gripping as any action sequence, because you're invested in the solution, not just the spectacle. Watney is alone for most of the film. The loneliness is real. But the film understands that the opposite of despair isn't hope, it's just the next problem to solve. One of the most purely enjoyable survival films ever made. Number 2, Society of the Snow.
¿Sabemos dónde estamos?
October 13, 1972. A Uruguayan rugby team and their supporters board a plane to Chile. The plane hits the Andes. 45 people on board. 16 survived. J.A. Bayona made this film with absolute commitment to both the horror and the humanity of what happened. The crash itself is devastating to watch. Genuinely, physically devastating. Shot with a chaos that makes it feel like news footage. But that's not the hard part. The hard part is the 72 days that followed. Stranded at 3,600 meters. The temperature is at -40. No food. Until the survivors made the decision that kept them alive. A decision the film treats with the weight it deserves. It is not an easy film, but it is one of the most honest depictions of what survival actually costs. Not just physically, but morally, psychologically, and spiritually. Netflix released it. It won the Goya Award for Best Film. Spain selected it for the Academy Awards. A genuinely great film about an impossible situation. Number 1, All is Lost. Robert Redford. Alone on a sailboat, Indian Ocean. The boat is sinking. That is the entire film. No backstory, no name, no explanation of why he's here alone. No flashbacks to a life on shore, just a man in his 70s methodically working through every resource available to stay alive on a boat that the ocean is slowly winning. J.C. Chander directed this in 2013. He wrote the script in 8 days. There are fewer than 100 words of dialogue in the entire film. Redford speaks almost none of them. And yet, this is one of the most emotionally total films in the survival genre. Because what Chandor understands, and what Redford delivers, is that survival is not dramatic. It is methodical. It is the next right decision made calmly when the previous right decision didn't work, and the one after that, and the one after that. The ending of All is Lost is the most debated thing about it. What happens exactly, what it means, film critics and audiences have argued about it for over a decade. I'm not going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you to watch it. And then sit with it and decide for yourself. That is, honestly, the only correct way to experience this film. 15 films. Every single one of them is about the same thing. The specific, stubborn, unreasonable human refusal to give up. Start with fall if you want something that grabs you immediately and doesn't let you breathe for 2 hours. Start with Arctic if you want something spare and precise that stays with you for days. Start with All Is Lost when you're ready for the most purely cinematic experience on this list. And watch Society of the Snow when you want something that tells you the truth. Not about survival as adventure, but survival as it actually is. Drop a comment with whichever one on this list has stayed with you the longest. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, and go watch something that makes you feel alive.